I call to order the 7th Plenary of the 32nd General Synod. We'll begin this morning with another Speak Out.
Ready? You guys ready? Yes. Ready? There you go.
Good morning. Good morning, church.
Good morning.
I'm Paige Bessie Rankin from the New Hampshire Conference.
And I'm Jeff Williams from the Ohio Conference.
Hey, Jeff, do you know what the largest gathering of the United Church of Christ is?
It's not General Synod?
No, sorry, Synod. The largest gathering of the United Church of Christ happens every 4 years. It is the National Youth Event.
NYE is back next summer when over 2,000 middle schoolers, high schoolers, and young adults will arrive at Purdue University.
Great speakers, fantastic music, meaningful service, workshops, small groups, and lots of fun. And we promise no clickers, no bylaws, no standing rules.
Check out our webpage or visit our booth to start planning to join us at NYE 2020.
As we unite for justice, unite for the earth, and unite in faith.
Amen.
Good morning, General Synod. Derek McCullers, Minister of Racial, Social, Economic Justice. I just wanted to say a word about this organization. We emerged in '68. We are committed to justice for all, and I want to just say, Ms. CJ is a great UCC organization. I would challenge you to go to our website, misscj.com, and the Facebook page, Ministers for Racial, Social, Economic Justice, and learn more about what we do and who we are. We want racial, social, economic justice for everyone. Hello, UCC land, and greetings from Ministers for Racial, Social, Economic Justice.
Good morning, Synod. My name is Ruth Harvey. I am a pastor in the Central Atlantic Conference, in particular the New Jersey Association. I am a pastor of an O&A church, which is also a 5 for 5. I am also the president of Ministers for Racial, Social, and Economic Justice. After some statements were made by the vice president yesterday, I have been vilified. I've been called a hypocrite and other things. Ministers for Social, Racial, and Economic Justice is an organization that is open to everyone. The particular issue that was spoken to yesterday is not one that Mrs. EJ has endorsed. The person was speaking concerning his own beliefs. Please understand that it was not.
Our final Speak Out session will be this afternoon during the 8th Plenary. Those interested may sign up to address the body by finding Gary Schulte, the Speak Out coordinator, immediately following this morning's plenary. He will be at the floor parliamentarians' table immediately behind microphone 6. We welcome our final theological reflector, musician and composer Sandy Chapman. Sandy currently serves as Director of Music Programs and instructor in the Digital Sound Design program at Dakota State University. She is also the founder and director of Mad Music Summer Music Camp for kids in pre-K through 12th grades. She is an accomplished keyboardist, singer, composer, arranger, and director. Sandra's connection to the United Church of Christ began almost 20 years ago with the titled The Studio in Scottsdale, Congregational United Church of Christ in Scottsdale, Arizona. Throughout her career, whether in music, ministry, education, or performance, exploring the arts as a voice for social justice has been Sandy's passion. Sandy has also been here since the opening gavel. She has worshiped with us and sat through many tedious business sessions. Her observations have been focused through the lens of musical interpretation. Later today, she will share her musical composition with us from the band stage. If you see Sandy in the course of this day, please greet her and thank her for her artistry. We now resume our business. Before we resume our business as moderator, I would like to remind all of us to help me by remembering that microphone 5 is a microphone of personal privilege, or a microphone of privilege for the good of the House. It is a place to ask questions of the chair, to get clarification, to notify the chair of something that's not working, or to notify the chair that there may be an emergency in the House. It is the reason you've noticed that when we see someone at microphone 5, we stop and go to them, because it may be a matter of importance to the House. If, however, it is your desire to express an opinion, please express your opinion at microphones 1 through 4, or if it is your desire to make a motion, make your motion from microphone 6. Last night, we recessed with the report of Committee 8. The resolution before the House is the stewardship of exhibit space as a resource for a mission of social justice. It is a resolution of witness requiring the approval of a 2/3 vote of the House for it to pass. We remember that the committee had recommended last night that we vote against the resolution. I want to make sure and will, before we actually come to the vote, that we understand fully that we are voting on the resolution itself. We are not voting on the committee's recommendation. When that resolution comes for a vote, we will vote either to approve it or not to approve it. Is there anything I've left out or anything as the committee chair that you would wish to add before I resume debate?
Thank you. There is one clarification from last evening that I've been asked to make and that the chairs have graciously allowed to happen. There was one comment with regard to a 47-48 vote in the committee. If you do the math on that, that totals 95 committee members. And we did not have that many. I will take ownership that probably in the heat of trying to think 2 steps ahead that I misspoke. The operative part of that is that there was a 1 vote difference in that particular vote that we took. However, the impression was left that that was a vote on where the committee was split in terms of our final recommendation. That is not the case. That was a vote on one of the amendments that we were looking at the time. When we tried to narrow down our decision, we had 3 pieces of newsprint on the wall with our options for action, to either send it with approval to the plenary, to recommend no action, or to recommend the no vote. When we took the vote on that, there were only 3, I'll say less than 5 people that were in favor of sending it to the plenary with the option to approve as amended. So the great majority, over 90% of the committee, was either in the no action or recommend no category. So I just wanted to clarify that based on the conversation last night.
Your public confession is accepted and you are forgiven. Chair recognizes microphone 6.
I am Reverend Jen Macy, she, her pronouns, and I'm from the TA1 conference. I, along with other queer delegates from TA1, move that the body table this resolution, and I ask the moderator allow me to briefly speak to this motion.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Joanne Marchetto, Penn Northeast Conference.
You may speak to the motion.
I ask that the body vote to table this resolution, and I ask that after the resolution is tabled, the United Church of Christ Board of Directors take up the work with the leadership of the historically underrepresented groups to create a behavioral covenant for the exhibit hall space, so that while ideological diversity may be present, the dignity and worth of every person is upheld in our General Synod exhibit hall space.
As you know, a motion to table requires a 2/3 vote. If you give me just a minute. I stand corrected. It only requires a majority vote. It is not debatable, however, so we will move to the vote to table first. And if that is the will of the body, then that's what we will do. If it is not the will of the body, then we will then continue debate on the motion. So the motion before the House is to table this resolution. If you are in favor of tabling the resolution, you will vote by pressing 1. If you oppose it, press 2. If you wish to abstain, press 3. Voting begins now. Enough votes are seen that 15-second clock will start. The motion is passed. The moderator would like to ask the members of the Board of Directors who are in the House at their table to please stand. My colleagues, it's been my privilege to sit with you over the last 4 years. Over that 4 years, I have actually seen so many of you rotated in and many of you have been rotated out. I know, the House does not know, but I know how much you deliberate and take seriously your role as the Synod ad interim. What the House may not realize is that we have already given you the following authority. From General Rule, paragraph 43, only printed matter and other matter, including commercials, that has been approved by the Business Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Board, may be distributed on the floor of the General Synod and within the Convention Center itself, in which the General Synod is being held. Such materials must contain the identity of the originator. I just wanted the House to know that one of the things that you cannot be privileged to, because you are not there, I just happen to have the privilege as moderator of sitting with this board over the past 4 years. I will be leaving you, and the Synod is leaving this matter in your hands. Thank you. You may be seated. Chair recognizes microphone 5.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and assembled body. My name is Katie Omberg. I use she and they, and I am a member of the Massachusetts Conference, the soon-to-be TA1 Conference. As a point of personal privilege, I echo the question, how are the children? That was like a mic drop. How are the children? We heard from the children yesterday that there are concerns regarding safety, and I offer and extend an invitation from the TA1 conference and all of our LGBTQ adults. We will be gathered under the refreshment sign now, following this motion, to be in community and offer spiritual refreshment. If there are any LGBTQ people assembled who would like to be together in community, I invite you to join us. And I have a very good offer for our straight siblings to please stay in your seats and offer us your prayers, well wishes, and the blessings of the Spirit. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone 5.
Bob Thompson, I'm from the Southern Conference, and as probably everybody knows now, the president of Faithful and Welcoming Churches. I rise for this to just make this simple point. I would like to say on my behalf and the behalf of Faithful and Welcoming Churches, we have never intended to do harm, but I'm also aware that much harm can and has been done by many people, including us, without the intent to do harm. We have already retooled a lot of our materials when we heard about the Michigan resolution, and I can tell you that going forward, we will do our best to make sure that we hear all of the comments and respond to them in the way that we represent the churches who are evangelical, conservative, orthodox, or traditional. Finally, I just want to say, I realize we've been identified mostly around issues of sexuality, but it's not our passion, it's not my greatest passion, it's not what we want to lift up. My deep desire is to lift up the name of Christ, who alone can save, who alone is our hope and is our unity. It's the name of Christ, the United Church of Christ, where we want to put our focus, and we will work harder to make sure that's front and center in our message in the future. Thank you very much for the grace that you have extended to me and to us.
Again, microphone 5.
I humbly ask the moderator for a point of privilege. I am John Dorhauer. I am one of the officers of the church. I use he, him, and his pronouns. And I would like to invite the body into a moment of prayer. Let us pray. Holy Spirit of the living God and the risen Christ, we are your united Church of Christ. And in moments like this, we discover that our unity arises not from conformity of thought, but from a commitment in the midst of our differences to walk away from here with love and mutual respect for everybody. We are trying to be the church through our capacity to hurt and harm and bring pain to those who walk differently in the world than we do, and to whom sometimes our words, thoughts, and deeds are received as traumatic and painful. It is only through the abiding Spirit of the risen Christ that we also discover, commensurate with our capacity for pain, is our capacity to heal. We are a broken and divided body that, in spite of our love for one another, continues to inflict wounds upon this body. For all of those who either in these deliberations or in past articulations of this body trying to live out its message, to all of those who have been hurt or experienced trauma, we invite your healing presence. And we ask through the abiding of your Holy Spirit that we continue to struggle to find ways not to agree with one another, but to disagree in ways that reduce our capacity to create harm and pain and trauma. We are your United Church of Christ, and we will do all that we are able to do in order to fulfill your prayer that they may all be one. Amen.
Amen. Recognize microphone 5.
Thank you, moderator. Jackie Nails, Ohio Conference. I am a pastor, but I'm also a mother of 3 and a grandmother. In our family home, as our children grew up, we had a number of guests at our dinner table. We had decent food and a rich conversation with people of diverse beliefs and traditions. As leader of our home, if I sensed or heard that one of my children felt unsafe in their own home with a certain guest present, after dinner, I thanked our guests for coming and told them, as for our household, they could not set up camp and stay overnight. As head of our household, I need to make sure all of my family members felt safe. I appealed today to our church leaders. You have heard some of your family members feel unsafe. Please take a bold stand for the emotional, psychological, spiritual safety of our church family.
So, please don't. I expected to be here on this resolution for some time. So I'm not turning my back, it's just that all my other resolutions are on my desk. I just was not prepared for what actually happened. Doesn't happen often. The next committee that I would call to come before us is Committee 5. It is the resolution regarding the use of plastic foam. I call Diane Johnson from the Northern California, Nevada Conference.
Good morning, church. I'm Reverend Dr. Diane Johnson from Northern California, Nevada Conference from the great state of California. I serve as CEO and founder of MAPU Management Consulting, as well as a proud alumni of Pacific School of Religion. It is with great pleasure that I present to you the work of Committee 5, the first of 2 resolutions we were tasked to consider. You will find this resolution on the app under Resolution 5. This particular resolution focused on the use of plastic foam whose materials are commonly referred to as styrofoam. This committee had a highly engaged, thoughtful, and dare I say it, enjoyable time in discussing and discerning this resolution. I want to personally thank the committee for their committed, diligent, and spirit-filled work. The committee found it particularly inspiring that a self-proclaimed recovering Methodist, only within the UCC for 2 years, found herself spearheading an initiative, first within her church, then within her conference, which evolved into this resolution. The committee was also extremely appreciative of the level of information, education, and context that was provided both during the educational intensive and the hearing of this resolution. The educational intensive was a bit like 3 scientists and an activist walk into a room full of UCC delegates. And there we have it. Our discussion and dialogue about the resolution centered on the various subtleties within the text of the motion that facilitated our understanding, assumptions, and context, as well as the strength of the resolution itself. Thoughtful discussion focused on how this resolution can be a powerful tool for educating congregations, regardless of their size and resources, on issues of environmental stewardship, the impact of climate change, and the use of plastic foam. The suggested changes refer to the various opportunities created and how to implement not using plastic foam materials. Our changes refer to specific UCC settings due to the scale and scope of that use of the toxic material of plastic foam. On behalf of Committee 5, I move that the 32nd General Synod adopts the resolution on the use of plastic foam and recommends approval as amended by the committee.
Thank you. This item comes from a committee, therefore does not require a second. Does the committee wish to speak to the motion?
Yes.
You have 3 minutes.
Understanding that this is a resolution of witness, we believe that this General Synod business is an exceptional opportunity to engage our congregations in all settings within the UCC in the continued exploration of how we can impact an extremely prevalent dimension of our environmental crisis. One data point that was consistently repeated in our discussions is how one single plastic foam takes 500 years to break down in our landfills. On average, each person in the US uses 85 plastic foam cups each year. Our committee understands that for some congregations and states, single-use plastic has already been banned. We also understand the various logistical challenges in considering not using plastic use foam. However, we firmly believe that this resolution can be a start for many of our congregations learning, exploring, and deciding how they want to respond to the environmental challenges of single-use plastic foam. There was a comment that one single foam cups and plates are an ongoing bad habit of many of our congregations and UCC settings. We strongly urge to stop this bad habit. And we also recommend that we vote yes on this resolution.
Thank you. This is one of the other issues the youth at Synod have been focusing on, and once again, without objection, I would ask that we suspend our standing rules to allow the body to hear a short presentation from our youth as we prepare to debate and take action upon this resolution. Hearing no objection, I would invite the youth who have been chosen to speak to this issue to come to microphone 5 as we hear your thoughts and perspectives. Chair recognizes microphone 5.
Luke Strom, NCNC.
Lucy Adkins from Central Atlantic Conference.
Alyssa Klein from Central Atlantic Conference. Our group chose this resolution because this impacts our lives now and will continue to impact our lives in the future. Each person uses 185 pounds of plastic per year, which adds up to 8 million metric tons of plastic entering our oceans every year. Combine that with 150 million metric tons already in our ocean, we have a plastic problem. Plastic is made with chemicals such as polystyrene, which makes it practically non-decomposable. It also releases chemicals into the surrounding soil and water, killing the ecosystem. Sea animals are affected the most by this plastic problem. Sea turtles, dolphins, sea lions, and whales are ingesting toxic plastic which won't digest in their bodies. 100,000 marine animals die each year from plastic each year.
In the 1950s, when styrofoam was introduced, it rapidly started to become normal. By the 1960s, restaurants regularly began to use styrofoams. They were a cheap and effective way to carry out food. Many family and churches began using it short after. The problem with styrofoam is that it doesn't decompose. It breaks down into microscopic pieces that are about the size of plankton. Fish eat the plastic thinking it's plankton, and then the plastic makes it all the way through the food chain. At the current moment, 40% of the ocean surface is covered by plastic. There are entire islands made of plastic in the Pacific. It is estimated by 2050 the plastic in the ocean will outweigh all the fish in the sea.
By not using non-degradable plastic and styrofoam, pollution will decrease and in turn increase biodiversity. By using alternatives, the amount of microplastics that go into the ocean can decrease and cause less pollution. To conclude, the youth back this resolution because we believe the amount of waste on the earth and in the sea is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the youth steward at microphone 5 for adjusting the mic, and I see you putting it back. I appreciate that. For those of the rest of you, we are instructed by the stage team not to touch these mics, so I appreciate your taking initiative. We now move to debate. This is a resolution of witness requiring a 2/3 vote. Chair recognizes microphone 2.
Good morning, church. My name is Claire Klein. I'm from the Minnesota delegation. On Sunday at the Shine Fest, I had a delicious grilled cheese sandwich, and it had a cup of tomato bisque in a plastic foam cup. But because of my work on this resolution and the education that I gained, I emailed the owner of that food truck, and he is looking into more greener options, and he had no idea about the information that we learned. So this resolution is already working, and I'm excited to see what else we can do together. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone 2.
Good morning, body. My name is Michael Howard. I'm from the Living Water Association Ohio Conference. I'm an earthling, and I'm a member of a community that's in pain. As a human being and a member of the earth, I belong to the earth. We are destroying our home, and we're experiencing the 6th mass extinction of species in the history of our planet. It's a witness that is deeply important to many of us. It's not a trivial matter. Many of you have, but I ask that you would please not speak of this as if it is a trivial matter, because the future of our planet does matter. The future of our planet matters, and I'm saddened to know that many of our covenant family does not see that it matters. So I urge you not only to vote in favor of this, but to speak of this resolution with the utter seriousness of which it deserves, the same as we speak of all the other material that we work through on this floor. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone 2.
I'm Carissa Carmelo from the Conference of Hawaii. And I speak to this motion. I live there. I see how the trash compiles. In South Kona on the Big Island where I'm from, we see the massive pounds of plastic and trash that are in our oceans. We see our fishes and our reefs destroyed. Hawaii took the initiative. We now use recycle bags across the Hawaiian Islands. So they took away all the plastics. Our restaurants are changing into paperware and plastics. Even our straws are being changed too. So I speak to this motion that, we may live inland here on this vast continent, but we do see the results of what plastic does to our fishes and our lands in Hawaii. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to see if we are ready to actually come to take action on this matter. In the interest of time, I'd like to call the question. If we're ready to vote, if you would take your voting device. If you are in favor of this resolution, please press 1. If you oppose the resolution, press 2. If you wish to abstain, press 3. Voting begins now. Enough responses. First to start the clock, 15 seconds. The motion is so ordered overwhelmingly. Thank you. We now turn to Resolution 5B. This is also a resolution of witness on support for the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act of 2019. I call on Diane Johnson.
Great. Greetings. I'm still Reverend Dr. Diane Johnson from Northern California Nevada Conference. So our work entailed the discussion of 2 resolutions, and this resolution focuses on the support for the Energy, Innovation, and Carbon Dividend Act of 2019. This resolution was submitted by 18 churches, in addition to more than a half a dozen more churches that signed on after submission to General Synod. Our committee is extraordinarily mindful of the legacy we as the United Church of Christ have as an agent for continued change and our ability to provide moral courage as a reflection of our faith. We understand that our resolution of witness relates to one of the most critical challenges of our time in an attempt to impact global climate change. We also understand that this bill is not perfect and that legislation is often limited. Our discussion focused on the fact that the bill represents a particular strategy of focusing on those who produce fossil carbon and not those individuals and communities most impacted by environmental injustice. Our discernment of this resolution included the fact that we as a church have no jurisdiction over congressional legislation. We discussed language, definitions, and dimensions of environmental injustice, bipartisanship, and how communities most impacted by environmental degradation often do not have a voice. Our discussion also included the various realities related to how Congress and communities deal with climate change. However, we realize that as a church, it is critical that we continue to take a stand against fossil fuel consumption and continue to serve as a witness for those attempts and strategies to effectively address climate change. Because of that, we strongly believe that this resolution can be a powerful tool for encouraging solutions to climate change. So we move that this resolution, so we move that this resolution be considered for vote.
Reverend Dr. Johnson, I made that omission in my mother's case. In that case, I knew better, but I forgot. In this case, I was innocent. This comes from committee and does not require a second. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes. There is little doubt that global climate change is one of the most critical and pressing social challenges of our day. Numerous experts around the world assert that we, as citizens of the planet, have only 12 years to effectively turn around greenhouse gas emissions. We may argue on strategies, but we as a denomination must continue our ability to weigh in and support solutions to our most pressing problems. We understand that this legislation might be imperfect, but we believe support of H.R. 763, the Energy, Innovation, and Carbon Dividend Act of 2019, submitted to the House of Representatives, creates a potential free market solution to change and various aspects to impacting global climate change. As environmental leader Paul Harkin has said, when asked if I am pessimistic or optimistic about the future, my answer is always the same. If you look at the science about what is happening on Earth and aren't pessimistic, you don't understand data. But if you meet the people who are working to restore the Earth and the lives of the poor and you aren't optimistic, you haven't got a pulse. What I see everywhere in the world are ordinary people willing to confront despair, power, and incalculable odds in order to restore some semblance of grace, justice, and beauty to this world. We, Committee 5, strongly urge you to vote yes on this resolution.
Thank you. The matter is before the House. It is a resolution of witness requiring a 2/3 vote. Is there any debate on the matter? I interpret that we are ready for the question. Let us go then to voting. If you will take your voting device, if you are in favor of the resolution, press 1. If you oppose the resolution, 2. If you wish to abstain, 3. Voting begins now. There are enough responses so far to call the 15-second clock. The resolution is adopted with 647 positive votes, 8 no votes, and 10 abstentions. The next resolution to come before us comes from Committee Number 1. It is a resolution to abolish the growth and existence of private prisons. I call on Maria Brace of the Pennsylvania Northeast Conference.
Thank you. I am Maria Brace from the Penn Northeast Conference and a lay member of Zion's Reformed United Church of Christ in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Zion's is also known as the Liberty Bell Church because the Liberty Bell was hidden under the sanctuary during the Revolutionary War. Committee number 1 was charged with the resolution submitted by the Illinois Conference and the Chicago Metropolitan Association of the Illinois Conference, a resolution to abolish the growth and existence of private prisons. Our educational intensive time on Friday was led by the Reverend Jerry Hancock, a UCC pastor who specializes in prison ministry. Prior to his ordination, Reverend Hancock was an attorney for over 30 years and witnessed the injustices of the criminal justice system. His insights were a tremendous asset to the committee process. What can I say about the members of Committee 1? What an incredible group of dedicated servants. The passion displayed in the room was immeasurable. We were committed to respecting the intent of the authors, giving utmost respect for the serious subject at hand, and most importantly, living in respect of each other. The committee members sought to understand how the private prison system takes the already broken criminal justice system and further destroys the lives of men, women, and children. Their work was driven by a passion to insist on the humane treatment of all imprisoned. Beginning on line 79 of the revised resolution on your app, the committee decided to clearly define private prisons as privately owned or operated correctional and holding institutions, including but not limited to prisons, jails, and detention centers. As you can see from the revised resolution, the committee sought to include stronger language that the national setting of the United Church of Christ enable and encourage local churches and conferences to actively divest of investments in corporations that operate private prisons. Also, the committee included language for the national body to advocate that corporate suppliers to or corporate investors in private prisons cease these activities. The committee felt that these changes further strengthened this resolution. As a result of a unanimous vote of the committee, on behalf of Committee 1, I move that the 32nd General Synod adopt the resolution to abolish the growth and existence of private prisons.
Thank you. This comes from committee and requires no second. It is a resolution of witness calling for a 2/3 vote. Would you like to speak on behalf of the committee?
Sure.
You have 3 minutes.
The largest percentage of inmates are people of color. One committee member very wisely stated that the South did not truly lose the war on slavery. They had won the war through our prison system. Another committee member shared with us that many states have used the results of standardized reading tests of third graders with the intent on projecting the number of prison beds needed in the next decade. There are primarily 2 corporations in the world that provide private prison services to federal, state, and local communities. These private prisons are designed to operate with the intent of earning a profit for the corporation, all at the expense of the safety and well-being of those imprisoned. Local governments are seduced to contract for prison services from these corporations by promising substantial savings to the community. Federal and state legislators are lobbied by the corporations under the premise of the promise of quid pro quo. When governmental bodies enter into these agreements to engage the services of private prisons, they also make a commitment to fill the beds. If this commitment is broken, then the governmental bodies are required to pay the private prison corporation for the empty beds. You can only imagine the endless cycle this creates. These private prisons have been documented to provide substandard physical, medical, and safety services to the population that they are supposed to serve. This resolution calls on federal, state, and local legislators to ban contracting with or approval of private prisons. Knowing that this will not happen today, the resolution calls for appropriate legislation requiring existing private prisons to provide the optimum spiritual, medical, physical, and mental health care, as well as safety measures. On behalf of Committee 1 and the thousands of men, women, and children incarcerated and held in these private prisons, we encourage you to support this resolution.
Thank you. This resolution is now before the House. Is there any debate? Recognize microphone 2.
Good morning, I'm Paul Fogel, UCC DM, and from the Penn Central Conference. I come to the microphone in strong solidarity with this resolution. However, I would like to remind the body that an institution that is not named here, that I don't think it needs an amendment but needs to be reminded of, are the institutions that house people with disabilities and mental health concerns that are not technically prisons, but they might as well be called prisons because that's how they operate. Thank you.
Recognize microphone 2.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Day. I'm a minister and attorney and the proponent from the Chicago Metropolitan Association of the Illinois Conference of the UCC, which is the author of this resolution. I just wanted to point out one other fact, and that is that these prison owners are lobbying our legislators to pass legislation that continues to feed this beast, legislation that prevents alternatives to incarceration. We have to stop this now. Thank you.
And thank you, my associate pastor from my home church. Chair recognizes microphone 1.
Good morning. I am Reverend Dina Holland-Neal from the Indiana-Kentucky Conference and Gary, Indiana. I stand before you with a hardened heart because we were able in Gary, they wanted so badly to put one of those prisons in Gary because of our airport. And they have been deporting people for years. We didn't really know that until the last 2 years, and we've been going out and speaking against and marching against the deportations where they come in with buses with the windows closed over so people can't see them, and children and mothers and fathers are in shackles as they try to hobble up into the airplanes. So I encourage you when you get back home, because your communities, they will try to bring these prisons. I encourage members of the United Church of Christ to stand up and not allow it.
Thank you. Chair recognizes microphone 2.
Hello, again, my name is Katie Omberg, and I am a member of the Massachusetts Conference. I come to you today in support of this resolution as I see it as the first step of a wider answer to Jesus' demand to free the prisoner. Jesus did not say to free the prisoner in the private prisons. Jesus said to free the prisoner. All prisons are sites of violence, of sexual violence and of torture as defined by the UN, by which I mean solitary confinement. Also, prisons for profit is not relegated to private prisons. Public prisons also have prison industry that companies benefit from. Before coming here today, I asked my brother and a formerly incarcerated Christian, Douglas in Rhode Island, hi Douglas, what he would like me to bring to you today. To remind you that we are all equal members of the body of Christ. No one deserves to be caged. In the words of Jesus and our abolitionist siblings, free them all. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone 6.
I'm Deborah Conrad from Michigan Conference, and in appreciation for what was just said, I would like to note that privately owned prisons are only a small part of the problem. I appreciate the intent to address the serious problems of private prisons, but suggest that the entire system needs work. Without changing the intent of the resolution, but by intending to expand it just a little, I would like to offer 3 small amendments. In lines 79 and 80, I would remove the words privately owned and operated. In line 86, I would remove the word private. In line 103, I would remove the word private. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second the motion. I'm Martha Gallagher from New York Conference.
There is an amendment to the existing motion. We will move to debate that amendment or act upon it first, and then we will return to the main motion. Seeing no debate, if you're ready. Sorry. Chair recognizes microphone number 3.
Hannah Cranberry from the Board of Directors, also from the Southern California Nevada Conference. I'm sorry, I'm a little short, so I have to stand on my toes for this microphone. I understand the intent of the amendment to be more expansive.
All I did was touch the stand.
This is why you don't touch it. Well, I understand the intent to be more expansive. There is a specific issue in our country of private prisons, and if we are going to confront the entire prison industrial context, we need to have that be in a separate resolution. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone 5.
Speaking to the request for an amendment, I would just like to say that that does totally change the nature of the resolution. And it should be noted that there are resolutions already on file that deal with the prison industrial complex. However, private prisons have grown over 47% since 2010. And it is based upon making money off of black and brown bodies and eventually our children. So we were very specific in dealing with this. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone number 3.
Matt Schneider, Adams, Iowa Conference. Just to say that, yeah, in support of the suggested amendment, except that it changes entirely the what's on the floor. I'd like to vote what's on the floor.
Chair recognizes microphone 4.
Gretchen Deeg in the Northern Plains Conference. While I'm in support of the intent of the amendment, I was also on the committee and was part of the conversations. And it does, making it broader actually makes the resolution less effective because it doesn't allow us to narrow in and create the changes that we want to change.
Thank you. Is this a point of privilege? Chair recognizes microphone 5.
My name is Andrew Robler from the South Central Conference. I would like to formally request a ruling by the chair as to whether this changes the intent of the resolution given its title.
Okay.
The chair rules that it does. The amendment is then ruled out of order. We will move to the main motion. The main motion as it stands is before you now. If you are prepared to vote yes, you'll press 1. If you're prepared to vote no, press 2. If you wish to abstain, press 3. Voting begins now. We can start the clock, 15 seconds. The resolution is passed. Thank you. We now move to committee number 10. This is a resolution calling for the United States to pull back from the brink and prevent nuclear war. It is a resolution of witness. I call on the Reverend Rose Wright Scott of the Southern Conference.
Good morning. I am Pastor Rose Wright Scott of the Southern Conference of the United Church of Christ, and I reside in Richmond, Virginia. We were given resolution number 10, calling for the United States to pull back from the brink and prevent nuclear war. This resolution can be found, of course, in the Synod app, resolution number 10. I do want to take an opportunity first to thank the committee, Committee 10, which did a wonderful job of working with and together. Also, I want to thank those supporters that helped us to do the work that we did. The committee process team, the recorder and the timekeeper, the technical support person was phenomenal, the proponent, all the invited guests, the Justice and Witness Ministry staff personnel was superb, the United Church Board member, and also the spiritual listener. I want to say thank you to all of those because we could not have done the work we did without you. During our educational intensive, Dr. David Brooker, in addition to his powerful presentation to the committee, provided handouts. He updated information that now 70 countries have signed and 23 have ratified the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. During our committee time, we dialogued, we discussed, we discerned that the only revision necessary to this resolution calling for the United States to pull back from the brink and to prevent nuclear war started in line 138. So it now reads, be it further resolved that the 32nd General Synod of the United Church of Christ calls for the United States President and Congress to take necessary steps to ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and make nuclear disarmament the centerpiece of our national security policy. And be it further resolved that the 32nd General Synod of the United Church of Christ urge the national setting, conferences, associations, and local churches to advocate for policymakers to support the resolution. On behalf of Committee 10, I move that the 32nd General Synod adopt this resolution on calling for the United States to pull back from the brink and prevent nuclear war, and recommend approval as amended by the committee.
This resolution comes from committee and does not require a second. Does the committee wish to speak to the resolution?
Yes, thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
Committee 10 was very passionate about this resolution and discerned with much care. We utilized the time that was allotted to review the 5 principles outlined in the resolution. Number 1, renouncing the option of using nuclear weapons first. Number 2, ending President's sole unchecked authority to launch a nuclear attack. Number 3, taking U.S. nuclear weapons off hair trigger alert. Number 4, canceling the plan to replace its entire arsenal with enhanced weapons. And finally, actively pursuing a verifiable agreement among nuclear-armed states to eliminate their nuclear arms arsenals. The committee was convinced and convicted that this resolution was an important witness. We wanted more from our committee and our community than just a yes vote. It is our prayer that we will follow with action in support of a safer world. Therefore, the revision starting at line 138 is to urge the church to take action and support this resolution on all levels. Someone said there's no learning from nuclear weapons because there's no second chance. On behalf of Committee 10, I urge you to vote yes on this resolution and to let our light truly shine and to be a witness and shine in this world. Thank you.
Thank you. The resolution is before the House. Is there any debate? You have 1 minute. Chair, recognize microphone 1.
My name is Phil Porter. I'm from the Northern California and Nevada Conference. I serve as a delegate of the Open and Affirming Coalition of the UCC. I served on this committee as well and was also convinced by the arguments that were being made on this issue. This is an issue that falls on and off our political radar, I think, and the ultimate goal is to influence legislation at the federal level. And those people who are organizing really feel like in order for that to happen, there needs to be more grassroots action. So what can we do? One of the things is that we can, as various organizations at any level, local or conference association or the national level, can formally endorse the Back from the Brink campaign. The other thing is to directly approach our legislators. You don't have to be an expert on nuclear disarmament in order to make a case for this legislation. So I encourage us all to take the individual action that we have the power to take.
Thank you. From my point of view, I'm ready to call the question. If you are in favor of the resolution, press 1. If you oppose the resolution, press 2. If you wish to abstain, press 3. Voting begins now. Enough votes already. We can start the 15-second clock. Resolution passed. There were 650 votes in favor, 22 votes opposed, and 7 abstentions. The resolution is adopted. Our next item is from Committee 7A. It is designating the Mental Health Network of the United Church of Christ as a historically underrepresented group I call upon Michael Vorbert of the Ohio Conference or Kansas City Conference? Kansas-Oklahoma Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Michael Balbrecht, and I bring you greetings from the Kansas-Oklahoma Conference of the United Church of Christ and from Peace United Church of Christ in Alma, Kansas, where I serve as pastor. I am so grateful to have worked with Committee 7 as we considered the resolutions before us. One from the United Church of Christ Mental Health Network, and another from the Colectivo de UCC Latinx Ministries. Both of these groups are seeking historically underrepresented status within the United Church of Christ. Our delegates worked through a consensus model to reach a majority decision that these groups are not merely missions of the United Church of Christ, but they are members of our body and deserving of the same privileges afforded to historically underrepresented groups within the United Church of Christ. The committee made only minor changes to the language found within the "therefore be it resolved" sections of the resolutions, including changes suggested by the General Council of the United Church of Christ. You can find updated changes of these resolutions on the General Synod website using your computer, tablet, or smartphone. On behalf of Committee Number 7, I move that the 32nd General Synod adopt the resolution designating the Mental Health Network of the United Church of Christ as a historically underrepresented group and recommend approval as amended by committee.
Thank you. This item comes from a committee and does not require a second. Does the committee wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
You have 3 minutes.
In the United Church of Christ, we say that God is still speaking. This still speaking God is present in all people, in all bodies, and in all voices. The resolution before General Synod today seeks to amplify the voices of those who have long been historically underrepresented. The General Synod likewise has a long history of standing for justice, of amplifying voices that have not always been heard in the church, of widening the circle for those who are our siblings in this growing family of faith. As we met in committee on Sunday morning, it became clear to us that the Spirit was moving us to affirm the voice of the Mental Health Network. The proponents of this resolution, including the proponent Amy Petre-Hill, shared with us their stories of having felt excluded, marginalized, or judged outside of the church, but sadly and too often inside of it. This resolution, therefore, is about walking the walk that we all talk so well. It is about creating a safe space for people to share their stories. It is about making the circle wider so that more of the voices of our still speaking God can be heard. It is about people both inside and outside of our denomination looking at our leadership structure, our ministries and organizations, and seeing their experiences reflected, seeing their perspectives amplified. Affirming the status of this historically underrepresented group means that while there is still so much work yet to be done, that work will be done with voices who are fully represented within the tapestry of the United Church of Christ. Voices able to share their stories, to speak into places and spaces that many of us cannot fully know or understand. These are the voices in the Mental Health Network. Delegates, I invite us in the words of that wonderful song of Christopher Grundy, "We're coming together," to revel in that deep communion all things share, and to echo the work of our committee by responding with an affirmative vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a prudential resolution requiring a simple majority to pass. Chair recognizes microphone 2 for debate. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. This is Becca Anderson, delegate from UCC Disabilities Ministries, the organization which sponsors and highly endorses this motion on behalf of our siblings in the Mental Health Network. I want to say that I have heard some rumored concerns that this motion would allow people with mental illnesses to become delegates. If anyone is thinking those things, I want you to know we already are. There are many people on this floor who experience mental illness in their lives, congregations, and families. And what this resolution will do is give us voice and representation. If you are one of those people who is experiencing these things and does not know how to speak to this on the floor, this motion will give you voice through the Mental Health Network. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone 2.
Hello, my name is the Reverend Amy Petray-Hill. I'm a member of the Mental Health Network Board, and I come from the Rocky Mountain Conference. If you look at our records, since Synod, the 21st Synod, we have had 7, now 8, with the passing of the private prison resolution that addresses mental health and the fact that people with mental health challenges and substance use disorders are beloved children of God. However, there is no safe space for individuals living with these conditions or their family members to bring their stories to Synod. I say thank you to our sister ministry, Disabilities Ministries, for bringing this resolution. And I encourage everyone to think about how we will be enriched and added when people who can bring their whole selves and all of their stories to Synod and help us deliberate on how we are church together. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone 2.
Hello, I am Reverend Geneva McCauley from the Missouri Mid-South Conference. 1 in 4 people live with mental illness at any given moment, but the impact of fear and stigma so often leaves so many of God's beloved to live and suffer in silence. But a recognized voice can move to change this. Just last fall, during my ordination proceedings, I made the decision to disclose that I live with bipolar disorder. I made this decision with much fear in my spirit, but I knew that my life and journey to this place of ordained ministry was inextricably woven with my experience as a person with bipolar disorder. All of my struggles and so many of my gifts are filtered through this lens in my life. And it is no longer something I am ashamed of or will apologize for. Choosing to pass this resolution will certainly not solve this problem of systemic stigma and oppression, but it would mean visibility, voice, and vote for the issues that most impact me.
Chair recognizes microphone 1.
I'm Reverend Dr. Lilton Marks from the Southern Conference, and I stand for this resolution. A retired Army chaplain, 23 years, Iraq, Vietnam, PTSD affects our mental health. And there are many of our family members who comes back in time of Vietnam. The nation and the military denied anything was wrong with us. There are many families now, and they're changing, and therefore, I encourage us to change.
Thank you. Chair recognizes microphone 2.
Thank you. I'm Reverend Laura Fitzpatrick Nager from the First Congregational Church of Old Lyme in Old Lyme, Connecticut. And I, too, want to raise my voice in support of this resolution. I am grateful for all the ways that we can welcome folks and families struggling with mental illness into the wider circle of belovedness. As a sister of a brother who, over the course of 18 years, has had 39 hospitalizations, and I'm happy to say he is doing very well at this time. It is so important that together we can continue to dismantle stigma and keep our doors and hearts open so that all can shine and support one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes microphone 1.
Good morning, General Synod. This is Reverend Peter Bauer. I'm from the South Central Conference. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker and licensed marriage and family therapist for the Department of Veterans Affairs. I strongly, strongly encourage you all to support this measure. As we have heard this morning, we have a lot of people who are continue to be affected by mental health disorders as well as family members. The more we can lift this up, the more we can support this, the more we can destigmatize stigma, the healthier we will be, the healthier our society will be, the better we will be able to proclaim our Christian witness and our message of healing for all. Please, please support this measure.
Thank you. Chair recognizes microphone 2.
I am Reverend Court Yo from Massachusetts, and it seems like this is probably all positive and is going to pass, but I wanted to share anyway. You know, someone who affected me early on told me there are people who are crazy and those who know they're crazy. Those are the two options. And you know, I was a homicidal, suicidal, suffering person with chronic alcoholism for many years. And, you know, I got healing and wellness outside of the church. I didn't feel the church was a place for people like me. And I'm one of the nuns, and I'm relatively new to organized religion. And I just think of how powerful it would have been for the church had I got that healing inside of the church. So I encourage folks to not just vote positive on this, but to really embrace it and take it back to your church for your benefit.
Thank you. I did not cut off debate on this one. It was intentional, but I think we are now ready to go to vote on this resolution. If you are in favor, you will press 1. If you are opposed, press 2. If you wish to abstain, press 3. Voting begins now. There are enough responses to start the 15-second clock. The resolution is ordered. There were 658 votes in favor, 18 opposed, 3 abstentions. You have a second item. Please proceed.
I was pleased to work with the committee on this second resolution. As I mentioned earlier, both resolutions contain similar language, and our delegates worked through a consensus model to reach a majority decision. The committee made only minor changes to the language found within the "Therefore, be it resolved" section of the resolution. Again, you will find updated copies of the resolution on the General Synod website on your computer, tablet, or mobile device. On behalf of Committee Number 7, I move that the 32nd General Synod adopt the resolution, the Colectivo de UCC Latinx Ministries requests to be recognized as a historically underrepresented group, and recommend approval as amended by committee.
Thank you. This comes from committee, does not require a second. Does the committee wish to speak to the resolution?
Thank you. Siblings in Christ, as we met in committee on Sunday morning, it became clear to us that the Spirit was moving us to also affirm the voice of the Colectivo de UCC Latinx Ministries. The proponents of this resolution, including Nancy Rosas and others, including Linda Jaramillo, shared with us that while many Latinx people have a similar language, they come from a diversity of theologies, a diversity of experience, and a multiplicity of expression that seeks to find space within the United Church of Christ. This resolution, and I'll say it again, is about walking the walk that we talk so well. It is about creating a safe space for people to share their stories. It is about making the circle wider so that more of the voices of our still speaking God can be heard. Affirming the status of this historically underrepresented group means that we are responding to their call for representation and amplifying their voice so that it can reach corners of our beloved denomination that desperately need to hear their voice and see their faces. Our committee noted the goals of the Colectivo, to form a nationally based collection of groups committed to a common ministry, to claim an identity that exhibits racial inclusivity and extravagant welcome, to build relationships across our pluralism, cultural uniqueness, and heritage, and to value the common good, to take action for social change, both within and outside the church. These, friends, are purposeful, meaningful goals. Your affirmation today means that these goals will be given shape to expand throughout the various settings of the United Church of Christ, connecting Latinx members, non-members, and friends. Please echo the work of our committee by responding with an affirmative vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a prudential resolution requiring a simple majority. I see debate beginning. I recognize microphone number 1. You have 1 minute.
Reverend Dr. Felix Villanueva, Conference Minister of Southern California and Nevada. As a leader in this denomination, it has been pretty sad to see the representation of the Latino leadership among our people. Many times I have expressed my discontent by saying that this denomination sometimes looks like white and black, and the brown people are nowhere to be seen. So this resolution is to lift up once again the importance of being a denomination that includes everyone, people of all races, of all sexual preferences, of all backgrounds, and we need to start doing that now.
Thank you. Recognize microphone number 2.
Mike Dunphy from Together as One, retired, living in Plymouth, Massachusetts, a place some of you have heard of. Recently, the Reverend Dr. Bob Pazmino and his wife Wanda joined our church in spite of the fact that Wanda especially was looking around for other Puerto Rican members, of which there were none. So I just wanted to speak their name so I can go back honorably. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes microphone 1.
Good morning, General Synod. My name is Linda Jaramillo. I'm a Voice Without Vote honored guest, and I come to speak and share with you that it has been my great honor and privilege to journey with not only the Concilio, the Council for Hispanic Ministries, but the Colectivo. One of the things that we've done over the last 4 years is listen well, and discern what is our future. And I just want to field that because in our culture, the sunsetting, or atardeceres, is the honoring of our history. And we honor the Council for Hispanic Ministries, but believe it is sunset time. Again, amanecer in our culture is to be born in the morning every day, so that we can claim our place and claim our future. And with that, we celebrate a new movement among the Latinx community of the United Church of Christ.
Thank you. Chair recognizes microphone number 2.
My name is Julio Filomeno. I'm part of Rhode Island Conference and also the TA1. So I support this resolution. This resolution will create an important mechanism or group that will help our Latinx community to bring about empowerment and justice to our community. And I recommend that you vote yes on this.
Thank you. We'll take one more, and then I think we might be ready to come to a vote. The chair recognizes microphone number 1.
Good morning. My name is Zilla Wesley. I'm president of United Black Christians and moderator of Quorum. We support this resolution, and we think that it will be a new day and a wonderful experience for our church. Please support it. Thank you.
Thank you. You didn't use all of your time, so I'll recognize microphone number 2. This will be the last one.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Hillary Coleman, and I am the Vice Moderator of the Pacific Northwest Conference of the United Church of Christ. And I stand here today in full support of this. I went to the workshop led by folks from El Colectivo del UCC Latinx Ministries, and it was one of the best times I had here. We were doing things in the history of storytelling, and I just stand in support of the richness that this group brings to our conference, or our synod, and really excited for us to honor that and for them to continue to share stories. So thank you so much for everyone for being present here and for the deep thought that everything has had. And as a white ally, I am here really ready to support this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're ready then to take action upon this resolution. Again, it is a prudential resolution requiring a simple majority. If you are in favor, you'll press 1. If you oppose, press 2. If you are abstaining, press 3. Voting begins now. There are enough responses to start the 15-second clock. The resolution is adopted. There are 652 votes in favor, 6 opposed, and 1 abstention. We move now to Committee 2 that has 2 items to bring before us. I call upon Claire Twomey of the Rocky Mountain Conference. I hope I got that right. Twomey. Thank you.
Good morning, beloved, sacred, and exhausted co-conspirators. My name is Claire Toomey, and I'm the pastor of Vista Grande United Church of Christ in Colorado Springs of the Rocky Mountain Conference. Our committee worked on 2 resolutions, 2A and 2B. The first resolution is on the ecumenical relationship between the United Church of Christ and the Iglesia Evangélica Unida de Puerto Rico. We had the privilege of having the author of this resolution, Reverend Karen Georgia Thompson, offer concise information pertaining to the history of the relationship between the UCC and the Church of Puerto Rico. In addition, she offered a compelling argument as to why the rekindling of this relationship is in keeping with the vision that they all may be one. This committee was a brilliant committee. And because I think I'm last, I will say the best one, because nobody now can argue. They were wholeheartedly engaged in the process, offering insightful and sensitive comments and concerns. And they allowed themselves to be spirit-driven, listening intentionally to each person's offerings. And after much conversation and discernment, the committee came to an overall consensus regarding only minor editorial changes. The more notable changes were lines 106 to 108 108, where the statement was reorganized. The committee noted that the original wording of these lines may have inferred that the resolution was speaking for the Church of Puerto Rico by stating that both parties agreed to commit to forming an ecumenical partnership. The committee felt that since they were not present at the table to speak for themselves, it was more prudent to recognize, in order to better reflect the spirit and intention of the resolution, that these lines be altered. On behalf of Committee 2, I move that the 32nd General Synod recommend approval as amended by the committee the resolution on the ecumenical relationship between the United Church of Christ and the Iglesia Evangélica Unida de Puerto Rico.
Thank you. This resolution comes from committee, does not require a second. Does the committee wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed. You have 3 minutes.
As stated in the resolution, the United Church of Christ and the Church of Puerto Rico affirm the biblical understanding of unity, which guides the ecumenical commitment and engagement with other communions. The Church continues to seek meaningful ways to attend to the call in the gospel and to overcome the separations that stand in the way of unity in the church that Jesus prayed for. As Christians, there is an imperative to find ways to live into unity and to create visible unity for the life of the church. This call is the essence of the ecumenical movement, which seeks to find unity in diversity, creating the space to engage divergences and convergences through ongoing dialogue and engagement. The United Church of Christ has a rich history of seeking and mending relationships. In the spirit of the call to seek beyond our own tribes and ideologies, in the mandate to love our neighbors, and in the spirit of reigniting rich potentialities by accepting the invitation to return to relationship, I ask on behalf of Committee 2A to vote in the affirmative for this resolution.
Thank you. This is a prudential resolution, requires a simple majority. Is there any debate on this matter? Then I will call the question. Let's move to take action upon it. If you are in favor of the resolution, you'll press 1. If you're opposed, press 2. If you wish to abstain, press 3. Voting begins now. There are enough responses to start the 15-second clock. The resolution is adopted. There were 615 votes in favor, 15 votes opposed, and 17 abstentions. Your second item of business.
I'm still here, still holy, still sacred, and still exhausted. Committee 2 was also responsible for the resolution reaffirming the United Church of Christ's commitment to interreligious relations and deploring religious bigotry. Again, Reverend Dr. Karen Georgia Thompson offered biblical, theological, and social rationale for the reaffirmation of the United Church of Christ's past resolution pertaining to interfaith dialogue. The committee was once again engaged in this critical conversation, demonstrating a profound sensitivity and desire for justice for all of those affected by religious persecution. The conversation reflected a desire and passion to hold all people in all UCC settings responsible for being part of the implementation of this resolution, and as such, line 123 was amended to reflect each setting. Associations were added to reflect the entirety of this call. All other adjustments to the resolution were editorial. On behalf of Committee 2, I move that the 32nd General Synod recommend approval as amended by committee, affirming the United Church of Christ's commitment to interreligious relations and deploring religious bigotry.
Thank you. This resolution comes from committee, does not require a second. It is a resolution of witness, calling for a 2/3 vote in order to adopt the resolution. Is there any debate on the resolution? Okay. Chair recognizes microphone number 2.
My name is Paul Che, and I'm an ecumenical and interreligious officer for the Christian Church Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada. And then now, this morning, I wish to speak on behalf of our full communion and ecumenical partners regarding this resolution. And together, our churches with other partners have committed to doing interfaith work ecumenically whenever possible. The UCC shares distinctive gift with the ecumenical family in its leadership, including staff leadership of the National Council of Churches Interreligious Convening Table, and participation in NCC dialogues, as well as the World Council of Churches' recent consultations on multiple religious belonging. The UCC also shares distinctive gifts with the ecumenical family in its expansive vision for interfaith work as articulated in this.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, may I speak to the resolution?
I skipped you? I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Does the committee wish to speak to the resolution?
I do, please.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. The text of this resolution states, from the teaching of the Good Samaritan, that it helps us to discern our relationship with God and with our fellow human beings, no matter their race, gender, social status, or faith. Our neighbors can be close by and around the world. In either case, we are all children of God and created by God in God's image. When we regard our neighbors with right eyes and heart, we can see God and therefore are called to interact with other people as we would with God. The current social climate of our immediate community and our global community demands that we become more intentional about recognizing our neighbor at all times, and more specifically, if they are the victims of violence and oppression. This resolution, reflective of previous ones, demands a recommitment to the mandate of loving our neighbor as we are loved. This resolution holds UCC members in all settings accountable for engaging in the work of interfaith relationships. And it is on behalf of Committee 2 that I wholeheartedly recommend approval as amended by committee.
Thank you, and I apologize.
No worries.
Is there debate? Then let us call the question and go take up number 2 again.
Since I haven't finished what I wanted to say, so let me just highlight certain things that I wanted to speak. So UCC shares a very distinctive gifts with the ecumenical family in its vision for interfaith work as articulated in this resolution. This includes your understanding of and engagement with the past and current challenges of the privileging of Christianity in interfaith relations, such as Christian supremacy, undergirding by white supremacy, the realities of multiple religious belonging and various forms of religious identity and practices. So thank you.
Let us proceed to take action on the resolution. If you are in favor of the resolution, you'll press 1 on your voting device. If you are opposed, press 2. If you wish to abstain, press 3. Voting begins now. We can start the 15-second clock. The resolution is adopted. There were 655 votes yes, there were 3 votes no, and there were 10 abstentions. Thank you. What I would like to say to all of us that Penny and I got a chance to see firsthand is we have visited as many of the committees while they were in session as possible. And for me, and I think for her as well, we came to appreciate the real work that goes on behind the scenes that makes our conversations so much easier. Yes, sometimes they are controversial. Yes, sometimes we will not have broad agreement, but in every case I witnessed genuine thought, genuine active listening, which is hard. It is a discipline, and genuine honesty. I want to thank all of the committee chairs, all of the committees, and all of you who either served on committees or participated in conversations with those who did serve on committees. That is what you have seen in the last 8, well, we didn't make it to 8 yet, the last 7 plenary sessions. It should be obvious to everybody we are a little ahead. That's better than being behind. Although I think we would be scheduled for a music break, I believe I see the staff lined up, and what I would like us to do is take a moment and recognize our national staff. I invite all the national staff to begin making their way to the stage. During the last several days, we have had the opportunity to hear from and thank the officers of the church. We have seen other members of the national staff in the exhibit hall, at registration, the General Synod office, during workshops and committees and sponsored meals. But we haven't had the opportunity to say a formal thank you for all the work they do on behalf of us all. Many staff have been right here at this convention center with us all week, but there are also many others whose work does not normally bring them to Synod. In addition to the staff in Cleveland, we also have staff in Washington, D.C. and New York City, and we value the work of all of them and what they do on our behalf in the national setting of the church. I invite you to join me in a formal expression of appreciation to all of them for the work that they do that helps support the work of our local churches, our associations, our conferences, and the General Synod in so many ways. The fatigue that we may feel almost seems like it's yesterday. So we can enjoy a little music break and stretch and enjoy each other's company for a few minutes. Let's take a break. Let us gather ourselves, take our seats. I now call upon the Reverend Carrie Call, Chair of the Members in Discernment Financial Support Task Force, to bring us a report of their work, and I would invite you to take your seats and give Reverend Call your attention. Let us please come to order. Reverend Call.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Carrie Call of Lancaster Theological Seminary and the Penn Central Conference. I am a member of the Board of Directors and chair of this task force. In June of 2013, at the 29th General Synod, a resolution came to the floor regarding the creation of a new all-church offering that would go toward reducing the financial difficulties of seminarians, specifically regarding educational debt and costs. The discussion at that time was spirited, and the resolution passed, although 2 amendments were added. Implementation of the resolution was assigned to the Collegium of Officers, and Synod requested a report by Synod 2015. Between 2015 and 2017, little action was taken on this. In 2017, UCC Board Chair Frank Bolden appointed a new task force, the Members in Discernment Financial Support Task Force. Since 2017, the task force has delved into this problem of educational debt, which is a complex one, as many of you know, with shifting variables. The issue raises passionate responses from a variety of perspectives and has been the topic of in-depth discussion several times at UCC board meetings. Creating a response to the problem was challenging due to the daunting complexity and questions regarding how a solution could be implemented across diverse settings of the church. The direction of the discussion shifted after the National Lilly Endowment event, Gathering First Fruits National Summit on the Economics of Ministry in January of this year. At that gathering, some of us, including the Reverend John Dorhauer, learned in painful detail of the depth and breadth of the financial struggles not only of members in discernment, but of a majority of our clergy as a whole. This is true across all denominations. Financial stress is rampant, and indebtedness is heavy, psychologically, spiritually, and practically for many clergy. This is amplified by shame, isolation, and silence. The Lilly Endowment is committed to meeting this challenge through robust evidence-based programs enacted by denominations like ours in their conferences, associations, partner organizations such as the UCC Pension Boards, which has a program, and our seminaries, all of which have programs. Preliminary results are excellent. In response to this commitment, and because of the seriousness of the financial stress of members in discernment and authorized ministers due to the weight of debt, the UCC board voted in March 2019 to change the task force to focus on this broader issue and to encourage the task force to work with our pension boards to explore broad-based plans of action. The new name is the Financial Health in Ministry Task Force. This task force will be larger than the previous body, and we will take our work seriously. We fully recognize the depth and weight of this issue. Those who wish to help the work of the task force, or who have questions, can contact me via the Penn Central Conference. We commit now to reporting back to you at Synod 33 in 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie, and to all your task force for all of your ongoing work on our behalf. Call upon Penny Lowe's for a few announcements. Reverend Lowe's.
Good morning, beloved church. What good work we have done and what work we still have to do. Amen? Okay, a few announcements. You remember these? I introduced them to us, we've used them, and guess what? You can turn them in now. So at your delegation, you have the designated person that these will go back to. Remember, if you do not turn it in, I believe that's a $100 fee. So please do turn those in. The other thing, since we will be drawing our business to a close early this morning, the exhibition hall will be open until noon, and then they will begin dismantling. So it does give you a wonderful opportunity to stroll through exhibition hall one more time and visit those wonderful display booths. And that is all. Oh, one more. And the Wisconsin Conference thanks the General Synod for their generous donations of underwear and socks and toiletries. Amen to that. Thank you.
Chair recognizes microphone 5 for personal privilege.
Yeah, I will be quick about this. I don't know if something was planned, but I'm Paul Fogel, UCC-DM, sorry. I just wanted to lift up the contributions of our ASL interpreters down on stage left. I don't know if anything was planned to highlight them, but I feel like the rotating group that has been here the past 5 days has been very helpful for folks who need it, and I just wanted to come and bring their contributions to the floor. Thank you.
That's most appropriate. Thank you. Thank you. So the 7th plenary of this 32nd General Synod is complete. We have a little time to visit the exhibit hall to be with each other. We will return this afternoon at 2:30 p.m. We have enjoyable business to still do together. We are now in recess.